Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to see how is Python a functional language. We're also going to see what is first class functions and how Python treats functions as first class citizens. In the previous video, we've seen what is a functional language, what are functions, then what are the advantages of functions with an example. So now we're going to see how is Python a functional language. So without wasting time, let's get started. How is Python a functional programming language? So let me explain this with an example. First, if we are able to assign a function to a variable, what does this even mean? If we are able to assign a function to a variable, then we can tell that that language is a functional programming language. Let's see this with an example. For example, let's consider the same example, that is multiplication of two numbers. As you can see on your right hand side, this is the algorithm to multiply two numbers. Now, how do you make a function? We define a function with the name mul, that is multiplication, with inputs num1 and num2, and return the multiplication of two numbers, that is num1 into num2. This is how this algorithm can be written in the form of function. Now, as you can see, if we are able to assign a function to a variable, basically, what is variable? In a short way, let me tell you what is variable. A is equal to 10. That means we have a container that is A and it has a value 10. Now, if we call A, that is output or print A, what does it return? Print A returns 10 because it has a value 10. To know more about variables, please stay tuned. In the upcoming lectures, we'll be talking more about variables and how A stores a particular number or a decimal or a string. In the further lectures, how memory storage works, like heap memory or stack memory. All of these will be explained in the upcoming lectures. So stay tuned. So basically, this is all about variables. Now, coming to this example, we have to assign a function to a variable. Now, let's consider a variable A. A is equal to the function name. We are assigning a function to a variable. This is how we have assigned a function to a variable. Now let me make a variable result which stores the output of the given function. Mul is equal to num1 is 3, num2 is 2. Now if I print this result, what I get is 3 into 2, that is 6. This is what I get. But what is the main motto? We have to assign the function mul to another variable, that is A. And now if we pass the same thing, that is result is equal to A of 3 comma 2. Though A is not a function, but we have assigned the function mul to A. So what will this return? This will also return 3 into 2, that is 6. This will also return the output 6. If we are able to assign a function to a variable and then we call the variable as a function and it also gives the output as per the given input, if the programming language is able to do all of this, then it is called a functional language. The next criteria to call a programming language a functional programming language is if we are able to return a function from a function. Now let's understand this with the help of another example. Let me make a function called calc. That is, let's define a function called calc which takes into inputs, that is num1 and num2. Now, what does this function do? This function returns another function called mul, which we had used in the previous example here by passing the same parameters which is passed to the function calc. Once we make call for the function calc, that is now, what does this function actually do? Now, once you make a call here, that is, result is equal to calc of 3 comma 2, what path does this calc follow? Now, the calc is made, and now the function called calc is made. So, here num1 is 3 and num2 is 2. Now, calc returns mul of num1 and num2, that is 3 comma 2. Now, this mul is getting called here, and the mul is called here. The mul makes a call to the original function, that is mul of num1 and num2. So in this function, 3 comma 2 is passed, and then we return 3 into 2 here, that is 6 is returned. So now 6 gets returned back here, and this here, now here, this whole thing, this whole function is equivalent to 6. Now calc, the function calc returns this 6 to the place where it was called. So it is called here. Now the result has the value 6. This is how we are calling a function from another function, and then we get the return value from the called function to the calling function, then we get the result. This is how we output the result to the user. So if any language matches this criteria that we are able to return a function from a function, then it is called as functional programming language. The next criteria required to tell whether a programming language is a functional programming language or not is passing a function to a function. As we saw previously, we made a call like define mul of num1, num2, where num1 and num2 are two variables which hold the values given by the user. But in place of passing a variable here, if we are able to pass a function, that is be it calc or some div, that means instead of a variable, we are able to pass a function, then that programming language can be called as a functional programming language. Let's see this with the help of an example. Let's assume there's a function called random, random work. Okay, let's keep it random work. Then it takes an input as two variables. That is, it takes an input a comma b and also takes a function that is named as output. Now, what does this random work actually do? It just returns the function output by passing a comma b in it. Now, what is actually output? Now, we'll also define a function called output. It takes in a comma b and returns a plus b. By calling random work with input as 2 comma 3, I pass another function called output. Now, guys, try to guess what is the output and what is the flow of program. It's simple, guys. Just once you make a call called random work with input as 2 comma 3, which is a and b, and another function that is output, which just returns the sum of two numbers. So we also pass that as a parameter. Important to remember. We also pass it as a parameter. Once the call is made, this call is made here. So once we call the function, then we pass 2 comma 3 in the place of a and b, and the output function is also passed as a parameter. So it also goes here, output. And now, what does it even return? It returns another function call, that is, it calls out output with a comma b. That means it calls out output with 2 comma 3 as given input from the user. Now, that call comes here. So that is output of 2 comma 3, 2 comma 3. Then what does this output function return? It returns sum of the inputs, that is sum of 2 plus 3, that is 5. So this 5 is returned here, the place where it was called. And now this whole value is equivalent to 5. Now this 5 is returned from the place where it was called. So this 5 was called from here. So here this whole function call has a value 5. And so if you print the call made by the function. So I hope you guys have understood it. If you guys don't understand, it's okay, completely fine. You can rewatch the video, and if you still don't understand, please post your comment in the comment section. I'll be answering it. Stay tuned and have a nice day.
And also do subscribe the channel and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss out on any of the videos. After subscribing, also like the video so that you help the YouTube algorithm to function.